I'm Holly Heinrich. I'm the editor of Essentials of Texas Water Resources. Before that, I was co-editor of the book with the founding editor, Mary Saz. In addition to serving as editor of the book, I also write the chapter on the water-energy nexus, which I've done since 2019. Water has been a long time passion of mine. Before I went to law school, I earned a master's in public policy at the University of Cambridge, and most of my graduate research there focused on water issues. So water as a global security issue, water markets, and also hydropower generation in the Mekong River Basin, and how it's impacted by issues such as climate change, geopolitical issues, and growing water and energy demand. Essentials of Texas Water Resources is a leading practice guide for water attorneys and professionals. It covers a range of important issues from water rights to groundwater law to CCN and utility issues to water financing, and also issues such as climate change and the water-energy nexus. It's a really important book. Whether you're practicing before the TCEQ or the PUC, you can find value as a water professional in using this book and having your practice informed by these chapters. There are a lot of great new features in the 8th edition. So we've got an excellent new chapter by Gabrielle Collins, who's a fellow and an attorney at the Baker Institute at Rice University, on the economics of Texas water. And so that chapter is really interesting and important because it shows how economics gives us the tools to understand Texas water issues, and for policymakers and consumers and suppliers to make smarter, more informed water decisions. We also have some important legislative updates from the 88th legislative session. You'll see coverage of the Texas Water Fund and the new Water Supply for Texas Fund, both of which are major developments in state water law. You'll also find coverage of Sackett versus EPA, which has really redefined and narrowed the scope of waters of the United States, major Supreme Court decision. And you'll find updates on groundwater case law as well that are important for anyone practicing in that area. So I'm a longtime fan of Essentials of Texas Water Resources. I've been using the book long before I ever became editor or an author. I first became familiar with this book when I was an undergraduate at UT Austin, and I was writing a thesis on Texas water rights when there was a major drought at that time, and that topic was really compelling to me. And so it's been an honor to get to become the next editor of the book and to really continue that legacy that Mary Saz started by founding this book and making it such an important resource for Texas water professionals. Mary Saz was the founding editor of Essentials of Texas Water Resources, and I think she created a book that is just so valuable to water attorneys and water experts throughout our state. Before this book, there wasn't really a legal resource in Texas that consolidated all of that knowledge in one place. And I think that's why the book is so enduring, because people continue to need this resource and rely on this resource. The book is structured to be a mixture of chapters on very legal topics such as water rights, groundwater law, CCN law, but also timely topics where there may be more of a scientific or kind of maybe an economic focus. So we really do a great job, I think, in the book of combining both legal expertise and also expertise from different fields like science, economics, industry. I think that's one of the strengths of the book. Texas water law has never been more dynamic or more important. Our state's population is forecast to grow from 2020 to 2070 from around 30 million to around 50 million people. So that's a major increase in population, major increase in potential residential demand. Surprisingly, our state's water demand is not projected to grow as much. So the amount of our water supply that we can rely on in the event of a drought, however, is expected to decline by about 18%, from around 17 million acre feet to around 14 million acre feet per year. So that's something that will really have to be managed and addressed by policymakers and by the public and by industry as well. You know, I think the book does a really good job of describing the trends that are driving the growth in water demand, the issues such as aquifer depletion that are driving reductions in our available water supply that we can rely on in the event of a drought. And our book also does a great job of talking about the laws that structure how we move water and supply water and who has rights to water today. I think that's a really important part of this, that this is a book that can help policymakers and the public understand the landscape of our water supply issues today. Figuring out how to meet the growing water demand of our state's population is really one of the important public policy challenges of our time. And we've seen that in the 88th legislative session, what a priority that is with the creation of the $1 billion Texas Water Fund and the new Water Supply for Texas Fund, and all of these new legislative strategies that are aimed at promoting the deployment of innovative technologies like desalination, aquifer storage and recovery, and produced water treatment. And I think that's a trend we're going to see moving forward, that there's going to be more and more focus on how can we meet the water demand of our population for the future. And if you've been following legislative hearings in the interim, you've also probably seen that the legislature continues to evaluate how existing water programs such as the SWIFT program are functioning. And I expect that we'll see continued analysis of water issues in the upcoming session. So the book also contains analysis of Sackett versus EPA, which is a landmark Waters of the United States Supreme Court case that recently came out that really narrowed the scope of the Federal Clean Water Act and redefined waters of the United States to apply essentially to relatively permanent bodies of water, such as rivers, lakes, permanent standing streams, and wetlands that have a continuous connection to surface water. The book also discusses recent developments in groundwater law related to regulatory takings and the ownership of produced water that are important for practitioners to be aware of. So Essentials of Texas Water Resources is a great resource for developing expertise and also refreshing your knowledge in a variety of different areas of water law, from water rights to groundwater law to CCN law to water quality issues and the Endangered Species Act. It's also a really valuable resource for learning more about issues that may impact your clients, such as the water-energy nexus, climate change, and the economics of water. You know, attorneys tell me all the time how important Essentials of Texas Water Resources is to their practice, whether they've been practicing for 2 years or 20 years. This is a book that many water attorneys turn to refresh on issues that they work on regularly, or to develop expertise in an area that they may not work in all the time, but where a client brings them a new issue. So I think it's a valuable resource both for your day-to-day practice and also for developing deeper knowledge in an area where you may not practice all the time. The book covers issues ranging from water rights to groundwater transactions to areas such as water CCN and utility law. It's a valuable resource for attorneys across a variety of water-related specialties. So how will water law in Texas evolve in the future? I think we'll continue to see policymakers at both the state and the local level turn into a variety of solutions to meet our growing water demand and either create new available supply or make the most of the supply that we already have. So we'll see the adoption of technologies that increase our available supply, like desalination and aquifer storage and recovery. And we'll also see water efficiency improvements and more water conservation as well. There's no magic bullet to the challenge of meeting Texas water demand for the future. and evidence-based water planning will continue to be really important for our state as we move forward. So because the chapters in the book are written by a diverse array of experts, this Essentials of Texas Water Resources gives us the tools to understand the state of Texas water law, understand the current situation with Texas water resources, and it gives us the tools to plan for the future. Again, I'm Holly Heinrich. I'm the editor of the 8th edition of Essentials of Texas Water Resources, and I'm an attorney at Husch Blackwell. You can find the 8th edition of Essentials of Texas Water Resources at texasbarpractice.com. Thank you.